starting out, I guess, I'll start out just with what matters, and I guess, all three of these are probably a triangle of some sorts. What matters is client matters. You guys matter because this is where the work comes from. We work for Scottish Water. If we're not working for Scottish Water, then, we're not here, we're not, none of it's here. So the client matter is very important. So what does that mean? We have to, we have to be helpful, we have to deliver results, we have to be dependable. That matters. If we can't do that, then we're not going to be relevant to Scottish Water. So we want to understand where you're going, your new journey, where Frontier is taking you. We need to understand that so that we can help, so that we can deliver results, so that we can be relevant. So that's key for us. Second item that really matters to us is our stakeholders, our internal stakeholders, which are the shareholders in our company. And so they're kind of like Scottish Water's customers in a way. They have expectations. They have expectations that we deliver a profile of revenue and earnings over the course of the year. And in the modern day, this isn't just end of year numbers, this is month by month. That's the way the business world is today, is these were the numbers for the month, where are they? So that is challenging. So it's to deliver that profile, that revenue, that turnover, month by month, and the margin that needs to be in that, the margin that was planned in that to cover the overhead, profit, taxes, all those things that the expectation of the business is. And that comes from our shareholders as well as other stakeholders, being our sureties, our banks, the things that support our business. They want to see predictable results against a plan that are consistent with the industry. So that's very key for us, is to be profitable, to deliver the numbers, on a regular basis. Third item, and again, I wasn't putting things in priority, but just these are three big things that matter to us. People, stable employment and a safe place to work for our people. So we care a lot about our people. We don't like having the ups and downs that we do face a bit in the water industry. And we want to have opportunities for them for learning, for career development, for challenging and rewarding careers in our company. They're essential, again, to sustaining our business and essential to serving Scottish Water, that we have good people that are engaged and turned on and interested. And so those are the things that really probably matter to us the most, those three things. In terms of pride, I think first and foremost, I'd say, we take a lot of pride in our company commitments to safety and to driving a safety culture. We're not just, Amy and Black and Beach are not about safety statistics or just trying to make the numbers, but we're about truly driving culture and safety and doing it better and doing it realistically and doing it honestly and not just doing it numerically. And I think that's a key core value of both companies. We take a lot of pride in designing and building stuff, and maybe we got to figure out other things as per Rob, because that may not be as much of what the future is. But a lot of the people we employ and that are attracted to our companies and that we're looking for are people that get jazzed about designing things and building things. We have project people. Our people want to do projects. That's really what they want to do, is go do projects. And maybe those are different kinds of projects in the future. And I think one of the points on what you guys were talking about with non-disturbance is, we've all become accustomed to Microsoft and Apple that just reach into our computer and put patches in now, don't they? You're sitting at home and Apple just says, hey, there's a new upgrade here, click yes. Go to bed, next morning, your computer's got the newest thing in it. Nobody knocked on your door, you didn't have to let a guy in the house like the old days of cable television or something where you had to have a guy horsing around in your drawing room fixing your stuff. Maybe that's where we need to be with infrastructure, figuring out how to do it with moles, programmable moles crawling through sewers or things like that. Last thing, where we struggle, I guess. We're struggling a bit now just in terms of getting access to the work. We did probably have an expectation of more work would be ready sooner. A year ago or so in the procurement process, we kind of thought there was more lined up and coming. We understand there's funding challenges and things like that right now that are pushing work back or reprioritizing work and trying to get a view of that Swiss model as to how priorities bubble to the top and things go different places. So that is a challenge, because it's a challenge for our resourcing right now. We're having to look hard at our resourcing and when the work's going to time out to particularly pick up the the people on sites. There's certainly work to do, I think, for the more office-based people, but site activities is sliding out a bit. For that's a bit of a challenge. I think another challenge for us is probably the IDP process. We are still trying to get a grip on that and understanding of that. We know it's still been evolving a bit, but it's probably starting to settle now. But the outcomes of the frontier work, the intelligent client model, the target operating model, how that stuff is driven downward through the organization. We're keen to get a good understanding of that so that we can work effectively with it and engage properly with the right people at the right time and be helpful, again, in that area. Probably struggling a little bit in saying that we're finding a little bit of compartmentalization, I suppose. Maybe that's not quite the right word, but we're working in a lot of meetings today with your organization, but they tend to be kind of individual group meetings. And sometimes, I sit in a meeting and go, it'd be really swell if those guys and those guys and those guys were in this meeting, and we could kind of get that sort of blend of viewpoint. And so we get a lot of one-on-one meetings with individual functions, and then through the week we all have to kind of sit down together in our own meetings and go, well, we met with specialist services, well, we met with portfolio, well, we met with these guys, and try and try to fit it together, and we're getting there, but it's just an observation. I'm not trying to say it's a criticism, but it's an observation of an area. And that's part of the challenge, I guess. I wouldn't say it's a struggle, but for us to understand some of the new roles and responsibilities we're going to have and how we're going to take those on and take those over. And a lot of that, again, is around the IDP and some of these things. We talked about picking some things up at CapEx 2, maybe some cases coming in pre-CapEx 2, Gate 2, between Gate 2 and 3, providing early contractor involvement function, or maybe even doing design and early contractor involvement, maybe some projects but not others, depending on the type or nature of work, whether it's maintenance work, whether it's a quality project or what it is. And I think it's some of the stuff Rob's been talking about, is what's the right involvement at the right time to support that best decision making, that intelligent client, because in some cases we're going to be a supplier of really valuable information, and sometimes we're not. And so how do you get that right for different kinds of work? So we're eager to get in, but those are probably the areas where we're just trying to understand the IDP, understand the different functions, the reassignment of priorities as some of the departments have been restructured or realigned or remolded a little bit, and so that we can figure out how we can get in and help you get to where you want to be, so that we can deliver the outputs and the work or not, if they're not needed, effectively.
My slides that I was going to create was a bit of a sales pitch, and then I realised you bought already, so now it's about basically delivering. Effectively, visibility is the only way by which we can actually create project efficiency, and I'll be familiar with that. You've got mobilisation, where you make no money, you're spending money, you get up to hopefully maximum project efficiency, and then you demobilise. You only really make money during the project. When you've got poor visibility, you've got poor program management, and you've ended up with this scenario where you've got lots of mobilising and demobilising, whether that's in geography or in technique. So that is one of the big effects, and everyone spots that, and I think you all realise that. And that's why visibility is important to us from one angle. But the guys were just touching on something else there, and this nearly stole my presentation away completely. A normal organisation, I'm the chief operating officer, I'm the important guy, and then you've got PMO and you've got the guys. And in reality, 80 to 90% of our costs and our people are at the front line delivering. So effectively our job is to actually make sure that they are supported out there on the ground. And when you've got scenarios about uncertainty about the future, you end up with guys that are not necessarily driving harder because, hang on, I'm not sure where I'm going next week, this job should last a week, maybe last 2 weeks. They're not that focused on customer care, so who cares, I might not be here next week. They're not that focused on safety, unless I get caught, I'm fine. And that's the kind of thing that the lack of visibility gives us. And we understand the pressures, but one of the points I was going to make was that Morrison Utility Services, with good delivery, good customer care, good health and safety, etc., joined up with AECOM, because AECOM got a world-class program management capability. They've done the Olympic 2012s, they're building cities in Shanghai, they've got the ability. So once they understand the pressures that are on you guys in terms of a program, they can actually sit down and help to actually set up the program so that we get the efficiency and the visibility, and you guys get the regulatory output. And that's the key point for us in terms of visibility. And I think that might be lost. But we cannot expect these guys to be good at health and safety, good at customer care, good at everything else, unless they know they've got a job in 2 months' time, 3 months' time. And the uncertainty that Steve talks about, that is by far the biggest issue we have on this. And effectively, if you can say to a guy, you'll be here for the next 6 years. And by the way, if you're here for the 6 years, here's the kind of bonus you can make. Because most of these guys, to be fair on the ground, are thinking about this week's wages paying this month's mortgage. If they can make a bonus, they then, or can I give the wife a new kitchen? But right now, when they're not sure what's happening in 2 or 3 months' time, they don't want to buy the kitchen, they're not too worried about the bonus, they're worried about security on the job. So that's it. So 6, 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, as much as you can give us. But right now, we believe 2-year visibility means that we can actually go for the program efficiency. So in other words, within the geography, go into an area, you've got a regulatory output that's got to be delivered this year, try and build 5, 6, 10 million pounds worth of work around that one job, and effectively say to the guys, right guys, you're here for the next 12 months. And then you start to get the efficiency and the kind of outputs that you want. What we've kind of settled down with it, understanding the pressure on you guys, we've kind of settled down that 2 years is nice, with 6 months locked down. So Mike can say to the guys, right, here's where you are for the next 6 months. And because that's a rolling 6 months, they know at any stage they can see 6 months ahead of themselves. They can see which jobs they're going to. If we can keep that, that changes the mindset and stops them worrying, like Steve said, about where they're going and what they're doing. Right. Our JV was formed under that very fact that we realised when Scottish Water put out the OJ notice that as Morrison Utility Services we have got first-class delivery. This is the sales pitch, by the way. Great customer care. We've got a market-leading AFR. We've got all of that stuff. But effectively, when we saw program management and design management in there, we've done a little bit of design. We've never done any program, etc. So we went looking for a partner. And it just so happened to be that Vicky and Brian were out there searching for a partner at the same time. And when we got together, we spoke to several players, and we came up with the idea that basically, because of AECOM's history in the market and what they do, that they were the best players for it. Now, the real issue with it when we started off is we started off with a program management office that believed that they're in charge, and they will drop the work down to the designers, who will then drop the work down to delivery. And what we realised that the inefficiency that Mike talks about starting jobs, stopping jobs, the design isn't necessarily wrong, the technique is wrong, etc. If we could shove program and design together and get them in the same room, we could drive 15 or 20% out of the cost of the program. And that was it. So the pressure on us really is still a PMO that believes that, hang on, we're going to take the regulatory outputs and the pressures, etc., and we're going to handle that, and we're going to make sure we report back to these guys in Scottish Water exactly what they want. And you've got Mike saying, well, hang on, I need 2 years of visibility if I can get it, and I need to keep the guys efficient. What we're bad at is basically stopping Mike and the guys from actually rushing out there saying, right, we've got some jobs, lads, let's get the gangs moving. When in reality, we need to say, hang on, PMO, is that the most efficient programming? Is that the most efficient design? And how we drive it through. So that's the real pressure on us, is actually how we keep that together. Because we understand it, everyone on the team understands it, but there's a real pressure right now. PMO want the program, and they want to rush off and do a program based on what Scottish Water tell them. And Mike's going, hey, hang on a second here, we want to push it together. Funny enough, the area we see a bit of a tension for resources is on what we would call non-infra stuff. So effectively, if we end up with a pumping station or a retaining wall, etc., Morrison Utility Services, we pride ourselves on the fact that we can't do that stuff. We pride ourselves on the fact that we do pipes in the ground and very little else. If it's more than 2 meters high or 2 meters deep, we can't touch it. So we know that these guys are going to be after resources, and we'll be after the same resources to do that kind of work. So there's a bit of tension there. Collaboration, Streetworks, I think, is an area where we should sit down together. Actually, we should actually make sure we have got the same approach to the local authorities, and that we use the same kind of system and processes to end up with that part of it. And the other part is customer care, because there's a big piece of customer care that really we should actually have the same kind of approach. And I know we'll be interfacing with the customers a lot more than Steve's team, but effectively, you know, a joint approach, something that actually looks the same and sounds the same, would be the right approach. Our understanding on it is that you will need a reactive part of the program. So if at any one time we've got to stop a job or actually drop a job that's going to start in 2 months' time and replace it with something else, we understand that. You will have regulatory outputs, water quality issues, etc., that basically jump out, and all of a sudden something else is going to prioritise. We understand that and we can react to it. It's when all of the program tends to be a bit reactive and we haven't got time to look at it and plan it and process it. That's what causes the issues. So together, because what normally happens in that case, if we know that ABVM got a job coming off and we got a job coming off, we get in first. Get our job done. Now they've got a problem as to where they put the sewer. That's what normally happens. You laugh about it. I actually saw this happen in Northumbrian Water last year. Effectively, we had two utilities competing who was going to get in first, because whoever got in first, the other guy wasn't going to get in at all. occurs that issue. So if we can actually talk to each other and actually look at the programs together, look at where we are, we can improve that.